In a speech at the Vatican yesterday, Pope Benedict issued a rather controversial statement. He said that saving humanity from homosexuality and transsexual behavior was just as important as saving the environment. He said that tropical forests deserve our protection and that man, as a creature, does not deserve any less. The Pope also defended the Catholic Church's right to speak of the union between a man and a woman as natural and to ask that this be respected as the order of creation. The message has upset a lot of people. Norman Prince is one of them. He's with Dignity Canada Dignité. It's Canada's organization of Roman Catholics who are concerned about the Church's sexual theology. He's with us from Montreal. So Norman, as a gay man and a Roman Catholic man, what's your reaction to the Pope's comments?
I think the Pope's comments are very irresponsible, they're unacceptable, and they're very hurtful. But it's only more of what we've come to expect from Pope Benedict. Most of us gay and lesbian Catholics knew him long before he became Pope. More than 20 years ago, he called us objectively disordered people with a propensity to evil. More than 20 years later, those words still hurt.
Are you surprised at all then? I mean, he's saying that you've followed him, you've heard what he's had to say in the past. Are you surprised by what he said recently?
No, not surprised, but every time the Holy Father speaks, I try to understand what he really means without jumping to conclusions. This time I understand that he's trying to say that if everybody became gay or lesbian, that the birth rate would be drastically reduced and eventually that mankind would be destroyed like the rainforest. Sadly, his opinions don't seem to be based on modern understandings of human sexuality. And so it amounts to more of a bullying from the pulpit, which we find very hurtful. I think that Pope Benedict has earned a reputation as one of the most viciously homophobic world leaders, on a par with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad from Iran and Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think, in your opinion, this Pope is so viciously homophobic?
Sometimes I wonder if he could possibly be sincere in what he thinks. Rather than base his opinions and church teachings on modern understandings of human sexuality, he relies on what the Catholic Church calls natural law. It's a belief that human sexuality has one purpose, and that is for human reproduction, and that any use of the sexual faculties for any other reason is invalid. That is the best way I can understand what the Pope is trying to say and where his teachings come from.
It just seems, and I'm just going to say to you that it just seems strange on a certain level because, you know, without the rainforests, we wouldn't be able to breathe. There would be no oxygen. So to try and equate someone's sexual orientation or their gender identity with oxygen, doesn't that seem a little bit strange to you?
Well, yes, and trying to understand what he means by this, I suppose if the rainforests are in danger of extinction, I think he's trying to say that the human race is in danger of extinction if everybody became gay and lesbian. The birth rate would be reduced drastically.
How do you reconcile your faith with your sexual orientation, given that he is, of course, the head of the Catholic Church, and you identify as both a gay man and a Catholic man?
Most of us gay and lesbian Catholics that belong to Dignity were raised in the Catholic tradition, and it feels a part of us. It's kind of dyed in the wool. We seek, like anybody who looks to spirituality for answers of the big questions: why are we here, and why do we live? How do we live a moral life? We find our reasons to stay with the Church. But instead of walking out of the Catholic Church, like so many gay and lesbian Catholics do, we've chosen to try to remain inside, to work within, and to call our Church to a reform in its leadership and teachings.
You talk about how you're angered by this, how you're upset by this. Are you worried about this becoming, you know, even more dangerous for gay and lesbian people in the world, in the sense there are some groups in the UK saying that comments like this can lead to bullying, can lead to homophobic assaults, can lead to the killing of gay and lesbian people?
Of course, it only incites people who feel that they're doing God's will by inciting violence against gays and lesbians. And in that sense, I consider the Pope's remarks to be a kind of bullying. And for that reason, I think they are very irresponsible, unacceptable, in addition to being hurtful to gays and lesbians.
Norm,
It was only a couple of
go ahead.
weeks ago, the Pope and the Vatican opposed a United Nations measure to encourage the decriminalization of homosexuality across the world. As many people know, homosexuality is still punishable by long prison sentences and death in some countries. And a couple of weeks ago, we were very disappointed that the Pope opposed that measure.
Norman Prince, good to talk to you today. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.